Friday. It's the end of the week. We got hurricanes blowing, Houthis firing rockets, actually ballistic missiles. And yet the world says shame on Israel for getting attacked. Shame on Israel for having to defend itself to the world on receiving missiles as it's their fault. No different than Kamala Harris is a perfect gem in society. Guys, why did I mention these two people? Because the country of Israel and Kamala Harris seem to have a bad rap. One smells like tuna fish, the other one smells like shit. You decide. Welcome, everybody. My name's Stuart Brisgell. That's my co-host, David Solomon, staring down. Now he's looking up. Now he's smiling. Now I get an eye twitch. Where we peel back multitude of layers on topics, not holding back a damn thing, as I just introduced. We're here about raw, unfiltered dialogue. That really is unfiltered. It's an outlet. It's a voice. Sharing experiences and ideas that really cross the globe. Lately, it has been really about two, major issues: Israel and Kamala Harris. And as we dive into this, another pop culture, politics, or quirk of existence, we're venting over life's daily frustrations and tackling them in a way that are not in the mainstream news. Because the mainstream news doesn't want to cover it. You got to ask yourself, is ignorance bliss? So get comfortable as we join David on leading this rant this morning about rules for me, not for thee. You can't do anything right. No matter what you say, you're just wrong. And you know what? It's put up or shut up time.
You know what, folks? I got to tell you, Stuart, wants to talk about my facial expressions. And that's exactly what the media likes to do. The media will pick on something so we can divert your attention, so we can drive home a message. But it's not a reality, people. The reality out there is so different. And I'll give you a concrete example. Stuart talked about Israel. On October the 7th, as we've said time and time again here on this channel, and I will continue to remind people until every single person is returned home, 1,200 people were killed, over 200 people were kidnapped by Hamas. On October the 8th, there were protests already against Israel on her retaliation that hadn't even started. It took weeks before Israel made its move. But already the protests had begun condemning Israel for her retaliation. Nothing had happened. But again, media doesn't want to cover facts. All they want to do is cover sensation. And the sensation was, wait for Israel. When will Israel retaliate so we can now go and crap on Israel? On October the 8th, Hezbollah started firing rockets at Israel. And it went virtually unreported. Israelis now had a war on two fronts. That was followed later on by the Houthis, Iranians, the Syrians, Iraqis, you name it. It was attacked on multiple fronts. You never heard about it in the media. But the moment Israel went into Gaza and started firing on Gaza, of course, every media had to show up in Israel because it was now time for the Jews. The Jews were retaliating. The Jews were wrong. The Jews were wrong. Israel's wrong. Netanyahu was to be taken out of power. And all of a sudden, we've seen since October the 7th, the ramp up of the rhetoric and the media focus on Israel. They treated Israel like a pariah state, like she is the devil incarnate. She caused this. Amazing. That's the media angle. For months, 11 and a half months, and I ranted about this while Stuart was away, that Israel has been, they're firing rockets from the north, from Hezbollah, into Israel on a daily basis. 70,000 were displaced. We had 12 children murdered on a soccer field. Silence. Nothing. Wordless. The media ignored it. And then Israel retaliates. Finally, after finishing what they needed to do with Gaza, they turned their attention to Hezbollah. This Hezbollah is not Hamas, people. Hamas is a bunch of thugs. Hezbollah has been known to be the most armed terrorist group in the world, almost military-like. Israel could not have a war on two fronts at the same time. She had to finish what happened in Gaza and then turn her attention, much to the chagrin of millions of Israelis who wanted to see their citizens go back home. And I say Israelis, I mean Muslims alike. It wasn't just Jews. But yet, the moment Israel turned her attention on Hezbollah and got into the pagers and blew them up, the world woke up. How dare Israel attack Lebanon? Israel did not attack Lebanon. Israel was attacking Hezbollah terrorists who enjoy life among citizens, knowing what the world would do to Israel. Amazing. And if you read the reports, Israel's attacking Lebanon. No, Israel did not declare war on Lebanon. Israel, like like she's done in the past, warned civilians, get out of the way. We are going to take out the people who have could you imagine? There are missiles, cruise missiles in homes and in buildings. What did you want Israel to use there? Flour? Sugar? No, they had to blow up the bombs that were inside schools, inside, homes, inside, hospitals and mosques. This is the method. And you have hateful politicians across the world who are condemning Israel for invading Lebanon. There hasn't been an invasion of Lebanon. It's an incredible thing. Military experts, generals, marveled at Israel's precision with the pagers, the walkie-talkies, but they also commented that the world would never let Israel properly defend herself. From Kamala Harris, Stewart, to Justin Trudeau, to all these other lefty Western politicians who claim Israel has a right to defend herself, but you even have your Secretary of Defense saying, we need to use diplomatic means. No, your version of diplomacy hasn't worked. Never has. Joe Biden continues to insist that Israel must disarm so that there can be a ceasefire. This is insane. The way you're saying diplomacy is to threaten Israel. That's diplomacy. That's the Joe Biden version of diplomacy, the Justin Trudeau version of diplomacy, the Emmanuel Macron's version of it, the Prime Minister of UK. This is their version of diplomacy. Threaten the democracy, not the terrorists. Stuart, with this, I'm going to wrap up my monologue. If you saw the movie Batman with the Joker a number of years ago, I believe it was Heath Ledger was the actor. They said the most ironic part of the movie was that people who watched the movie actually felt bad for the Joker. He was a criminal. He was a murderer. He wanted this devastation and destruction. But there was a sympathy for the Joker. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what we've done with Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis. The Houthis fired a cruise missile into Tel Aviv yesterday, and nothing. No condemnation. If Israel was to retaliate now on the Houthis, the world would condemn Israel, just like they did in the United Nations. Israel, ladies and gentlemen, is Batman. Israel is Batman. Batman has to use crazy means, not necessarily the cleanest means, to clean up the streets, and she's condemned. They're fighting and they're supporting the Joker. And the Joker is Iran. The Joker is the Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas. It is a sick mindset, Stuart. And it's amazing how the world focuses on the Joker and not the Batman.
You mentioned the pagers and the radios, which will be studied for probably the next 100 years.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, you mentioned the Houthis are launching ballistic missiles indiscriminately into populated areas that are not strategic military targets. Lebanon,
and just Jewish. They're Muslim. They're Christian.
Indiscriminately, I'm not even saying that. Now you have Lebanon, who's allowing Hezbollah to, because Lebanon is the government of Lebanon, and that's just the way it is allowing them to launch ballistic missiles indiscriminately into Israel. So at the end of the day, the response that Israel is going outwards is purely targeted, something that the United States has been incapable of doing. They demanded, but have been incapable of doing. They couldn't even exit Afghanistan without allowing the murder and condemnation of thousands. And you know what, David? I tip my hat off. I really do. Because the Israelis have always been above the fold and they take it on the ear every single time. And David, I'm tired of it. I'll be honest. I'm tired of it.
You know, Stuart, but this is thanks to your left-leaning media that will never we've said it numerous times. The politicians, the media, when they're wrong, they double down. And here they were looking to double down. They're pleased and happy to broadcast and to show the protesters in all around the world who are saying, stay out of Gaza, stay out of Lebanon. But where is the stay out of Israel? You know, it's interesting, Stuart. Kamala Harris yesterday condemned Donald Trump for suggesting that Ukraine cede its territory to Russia. It's sovereign Ukrainian territory. But what does Kamala Harris keep talking about? A two-state solution. That Israel is to cede its sovereign territory to the Palestinians. I don't get it. Now they're going to say this is not the same. Agreed. But why does Ukraine get a pass, Stuart? Why does Zelensky keep getting passes, keep getting arms, keep being lauded in the United States and in Europe and whatever, but not Israel? Why is it that when Trump says to everybody, hey, don't vote for the people who have been holding arms back on you, they're condemned? They're condemning Trump, that he's anti-Jewish. Do you see the doubling down? Every single time something has to favor Israel, it's a bad thing. We are going to double down, it's bad. But for Ukraine, no problem, because Zelensky is fine. Folks, look into Zelensky. He's not exactly a charmer, and he's not exactly innocent. Now, they invaded his country. I'm going to give you that. But he's not exactly the clean, innocent guy that everybody wants to make him out to be. But did anybody call for an election in the Ukraine? No, they called for an election in Israel because Israel's not doing what the United States wants. This is what's amazing. Israel informed the United States of its move on the pagers, on the walkie-talkies. Israel informs Israel about stuff. And in the retaliation, it's apparently the United States says they're not going to give Israel any intelligence because they want Israel to stop and have a ceasefire. Joe Biden cannot have another war on his front. That's all the Americans care about. Not Israel's safety, not even safety, survival.
You know, David, I want to show a picture. And I hope we put many more of them up in the middle of Gaza and in the middle of Lebanon. And I think it's time that the Israelis hold their flag up high wherever they seem to need to have to go, as they did for 45, 50 years ago in the 1960s, the 1950s. They went and held their head up high.
Of course.
And they did what they had to do. David, I got to tell you, I am by far not a fan of doing things the wrong way.
Stuart,
I'm doing things the right way.
But listen, Stuart, you're a fan and I'm a fan of it. But folks, the media has painted this lovely, lovely picture. Politicians are trying to convince you that Israel is the pariah. And the United Nations vote is proof of the complicity of so many countries. Guys, this is like the kid in high school. It's been bullied around by a bunch of those so-called popular states, popular kids. And when, Israel's emerged as a technological marvel, and a marvel in the environmental sciences, medical sciences, has been a contributor to society on the global scale, helped African nations with water supply problems, South American problems. Every time there's a massive earthquake or disaster, Israel's there to try to help, regardless if she's a friend or a foe. But just like, we've seen lately with the protests, When Israel needs to defend herself, she has to stand alone. She stands alone. And it's sad, Stuart, that the media doesn't see the beauty, the gem. They used to, Stuart, with this, I'm going to wrap up. They used to talk about Beirut being the Paris of the Middle East back in the 1970s until there was a civil war. But nobody's talking about that. Same thing with Gaza. When Israel, they yell, end the occupation in Gaza. There is no occupation in Gaza. This is the media can't even get their story right, the narrative right. But think about it, Stuart. What could have been, instead of investing in arms and investing in destroying Israel, had they invested in their own population, which nobody asks, the Middle East would be a beauty, a gorgeous area, not a destroyed area. And to keep blaming Israel, it's not going to change the lives of the Palestinians, the Lebanese, the Syrians, the Yemenites, anything. Nothing's going to change, people, because they don't care about their own people.
David, and that's a wrap for today's episode. Huge thank you for lending us your ears, your eyes, and your time. The Right Next, been a real pleasure just unloading with you today. I hope you found some of these discussions a little insightful. And if you have any comments, please send them. Subscribe to us. Hit the subscribe button on that YouTube channel. Hit it on the Facebook. Hit it on whatever your audience is. Remember, we're every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, noon Eastern, unfiltered, raw. Stay connected on all the social channels. If you have any questions, text us, PM us. Love to get your comments and concerns. And join us next time, which will be Monday